Hey gang, well welcome to an impromptu live sketch party brought to you from Tony Snipes, coming to you live from the Portsmouth Aeroship Building Company. And so I haven't done one of these in a while, so I thought today would be a great day just to do two things here. I'm reconnecting with you guys and gals, and especially just sharpening my skills. So what I'm going to do today is just to do a couple of just rough sketches of some of my Aeroship styles. Again, just to keep the skills sharp. But feel free to chime in. Now, I'm monitoring on another screen here as well as watching the video here. So if I do miss a comment from you, I will do it on the replay. But I'm going to try to multitask here. Now, the missus says that I don't do a great job at multitasking. I'm going to challenge that today and try to answer any questions that you have live. And if not, I'll catch them on the replay. But want to welcome everybody here and want to encourage everybody that's here. If you drop off and leave, that's fine. I know that you're really probably busy on a busy Saturday afternoon. But while you're here, I want to encourage you to definitely, please do, check out my 2025 diesel pump calendar that I made just for you. Especially if you don't have a wall calendar yet, then you got to get one of mine. It's a must. Plus, it's a great value because it has some of this year's new pieces that I created. And if you didn't get the prints themselves that you may wanted to frame or whatever, you can have them in the wall calendar. But you should have a link in the title of this video that allows you to go right directly to where they reside. But back to our sketching here. I'm just going to update my screen over here on the other side. And so here's one sketch that's already done. Again, just doing some rough sketches today just to kind of keep the skills sharp. Now, so one of the things that I really try to do with my Aeroships, as you may have noticed, is I want the shape of them not just to be the exact same shape of a battleship or any other traditional naval vessel or even a civilian vessel, but I wanted to have a unique shape and style that when you look at it, you can kind of say, hey, you know what? I've seen this work before. I've seen this with something that this guy Tony Snipes has done with this Portsmouth Aeroship thing, or something to that degree. Want it to be something where you kind of recognize the style. So that's where I've been. I think I got it down pat to the shape and form that I prefer. But the more I do like I'm doing today, just dabbling with it and sketching it out and everything, the more I get used to that distinct style and make it my own. So you see, I try to have the top of the vessel almost like where a normal ship would have the top of its functions that you normally see above the water. Kind of here, and then of course the superstructure and everything that you usually see here above the water and all of that. All of this stuff. This always reminds me of a cross right here. This part. And like a ship's mast. I'm going to move that a little bit back. There you go. And that always looks like a little mini city as well too, especially on the larger ships. But I try to have that center line in there to keep the whole thing centered. So above all of this, if this was in water, I kind of imagine all of this part being above the water. But then this bottom portion of the hull is where I make even that much more elongated for the air, especially not even just for the function of it, as far as it functioning in the stratosphere, but to really just kind of give it a distinct and unique looking design style that you may only attribute to something that I made. Not saying that, the look doesn't look like something that you've seen before. I may even be subconsciously borrowing it from somewhere else. That happens a lot. But at least I try to stick to, as close as I can, a certain design style that I like. Again, if you see me pause a second here and there, I'm kind of chiming in or trying to chime in just to see what you guys, if you guys and gals are responding, saying hello, giving me some thumbs up, some likes, and some things like that. So I'm just checking in just to see if anybody's chimed in. If anything, just give me a thumbs up just to let me know that you're here, and just a friendly hello. There we are. I see some of you guys are coming in. And if you're catching it on the replay, no problem at all. In fact, most of you will be seeing the replay of this versus the live. But I still want and encourage you to post your questions, especially your questions and comments, especially any questions that you have about anything that I do with the Portsmouth Aeroship Building Company. Chilling out, listening to a little classic music there. I think that might be Artie Shaw featuring Helen Forrest. Artie Shaw and his orchestra. Now, one of the things that I am fond of, especially when it comes to doing this type of work in these vessels, is I'm really kind of fond of artists that kind of capture an illustration with limited detail, where they may use shadow and values and shapes and not a whole lot. For example, all of this, you see I'm kind of shading this in. Now, if this was one of my final pieces, you see it will be shaded in, but you won't see a whole lot of the specific detail. And I like when I see a lot of artists do that, where your mind still allows to kind of fill in the gaps. So your eye and your mind are working together to say, oh, that's a ship and it's got a whole lot of, I call it up here, bric-a-brac going on. But your eye does not have to see every little detail of all of that engagement that's going on. And that's the design challenge of the artist, where I have to challenge myself to show enough to tell your eye, hey, this is what's taking place here, but not overdoing it. So it's a matter of translating. So again, this is the upper portion, and this will be the longer lower portion. And so I envision everything that's going on in this lower portion is especially all of the engine work, a combination of the traditional, maybe diesel-powered engines that guide a vessel like this once it is up in the air, but especially that gravitational displacement engine in the heart of this that actually makes this thing buoyant and float in the air in the first place. So what I'm going to do here now is, again, just kind of allowing, I think I love when it might have been one of my college professors when I was in college taking art classes in art school, when they just introduced me to the concept of less is more. That was a game changer. Changed my life. Hopefully the camera's not shaking too much for y'all. So if you're watching this live or if you're watching the replay, either one, go ahead and chime in and just give me a hearty hello just to let me know that you're here. Let me take a pause, a quick second from watching this. I'm going to take a look at the screen here just to see if anybody's chimed in. Now, another thing that I'm going to do with this after today is I probably will do an accelerated video, time-lapse video, that will show you one, two, or maybe a couple of these just sped up where you can see it in 2 minutes or less, maybe even 1 minute. Now, one of the things that I've been doing as far as designing these Aeroships, just to keep it from just being a floating battleship in the air, I want to account for the functionality of these things actually having to navigate in the stratosphere. And so I look at a couple things. I look at not only airplanes, but I especially look to nature, specifically fish that quote unquote sail through the sea, and how God has designed them with fins and other apertures or other, not apertures, but other equipment to allow them to sail in the ocean. Because the concept for my Aeroships is that they are buoyant, meaning floating as if they're underwater, or in the water, but they are just as buoyant in the stratosphere. And so they have corresponding devices that help them sail. So there's the fins that are there. I always like to add a couple of things here and there just to give it the mechanical feel. Now, one thing that I've been doing a lot of with these guys is realizing that communication is going to be key for them. So having a lot of things that look like and resemble antenna. All right. There's one. Let's bring you in a little bit closer. Because see, again, these are just rough sketches today. That's one I did earlier. And it's similar to these I've done actually a couple years ago. But this just helps me sharpen the skills. Keep the skills going. It's really like exercising. If you're going to get better at anything, you've got to exercise those muscles. So you creatives, I encourage you to do the same thing, to exercise those muscles. And let's just use this as a station break to encourage you. If you haven't already, first of all, I want to thank those of you that already have ordered and received your 2025 calendar from me. Thank you, thank you, thank you for placing your order. Not only just as a thank you for just getting it itself, but with each calendar order, actually the revenue from that goes towards my events that I plan to participate in this year. So it does make a difference. The more calendars you guys and gals order from me, actually it equips me to be able to pay those booth fees and to reserve my spaces ahead of time. Because some of you guys that go to cons and things like that probably realize that there's a lot of waiting lists that are starting to develop from for those of us that participate in these events. And so the quicker we're able to book an event, a con or art event or something like that, the more it guarantees that we're going to get to participate. But the longer that we have to wait, whether it's for we have to wait because we've got to get the finances together to do it or whatever, then the more we're probably going to be put on the waiting list. And from that point, it's like hit or miss if we're participating. So again, I said all that to say that when you do purchase a calendar, it does go towards a cause that allows me to book what I need to book for the year. And my goal this year has been to participate in at least one event per month. I've got a tentative schedule mapped out already for the year. And really for the majority of it right now is just waiting to get approved to see if, because they start you off with, they have you apply. And then I think a lot of them get close to like a couple weeks before the actual event. Then they start announcing folks that are approved to participate. And from that point, that's where you have to go ahead and actually book it. And so you guys, when you get in the calendar, you're helping me to populate that calendar for the year. Helping me to meet the 2025 goal for the Portsmouth Aeroship Building Company. It does make a difference. What I am doing this year, too, is I am trying to position myself not only as an artist, but as a speaker that also has an art display and art to share. And a lot of the stuff that I will be speaking on is what some of you have seen already on my, I call it podcast or webcast, from my Unpacking Diesel Punk series, seasons 1 and 2. If you haven't had a chance, especially all of our newcomers that are here, if you haven't had a chance to check that series out, go to my YouTube channel. Or actually, you can stay here on Facebook and just search Unpacking Diesel Punk, and you will see at least 16 different episodes, 8 in season 1 and 8 in season 2. It's basically a Q&A show, question and answer show about that genre that we love, diesel punk, and some questions I've taken from you all, and we answer them together. I always start off with my definition of diesel punk. But check that out. You'll see what I'm talking about there. And enjoy. Actually, come back and tell me what you think about it. Especially if some of the stuff you disagree with. Because some folks kind of disagree with my definition of diesel punk. They think it's too simplistic. But that is actually by design. But check it out. So again, you see I'm doing another sketch of an Aeroship. Sometimes I like putting that opening there. Sometimes I don't, because I don't want it to look too much like those of you that are old Star Blazer fans. That is from our Star Blazer influence. So I may keep it, I may not. Let's go ahead and just kind of play around as if it's not there. Let's just see what happens. In fact, let me ask you guys, should I keep that opening there or should I not? You tell me. That's one thing I love about doing these live sketch parties is I get to hear back from you. Oh, I'm sorry. I pointed. That's rude. How rude of me. So, one of the things that I'm trying to make unique about the design that I do for my Aeroships is, as you can see, this kind of reminds you of your typical battleship that could be floating in the sea, or floating in the air. And as I mentioned earlier, I like to put the accessories here that allow it to navigate in the air, specifically the fins, we'll call it. More like, kind of like flaps on a plane. Now, one thing I'm adding that I added in some earlier drawings that I think I'm gonna make distinct to all of my Aeroships to make them different are these. They almost look like shields, but they're actually flaps as well too, and they help these vessels steer and navigate in the stratosphere, help them stay up. But not just the ones that you see down here and down here, but I'm putting them up here as well too. So this to me, that's going to do two things. It's going to, in theory, help with the functionality of this vessel getting around in the stratosphere. And design-wise, it's going to help set this apart as instead of only just seeing it as all they did was just take a boat and just put it in the sky. At least the design look of it will make it just having these two things here at the top, as well as these 4 to 8 or however many I decide to put on different vessels. It kind of helps it stand apart design-wise. Does that make sense? Are you picking up what I'm putting down? Let me know. So again, gang, many of you are going to, in fact, more of you are going to catch the replay of this versus the live, and that's okay. Love for you to chime in even on the replay with questions, comments, all of that, because I will respond as if it is live. One key goal of this is I just want to get your feedback. one tricky thing about, you see how I'm trying to line this up? But one tricky thing about it is that this doesn't necessarily need to be right here because it's further back. So it's really kind of like right about here on the opposite side of this vessel. And that's why I have them poking out back here and back here. Now, I may not be actually accurate with that concept. However, I do know that, in fact, you may not supposed to be able to see any of this on this side. But I know it shouldn't be here. And the cool thing about when you're drawing stuff is a lot of this stuff, it's okay if you're not 100% on the mark or accurate. So let's put some mechanical stuff here. I always like cables and wires and stuff like that. And one thing that really helps with this is lining off the hull. So you know what I'm going to do with these, or at least these back here? I'm going to make, let's have it fan out, kind of to coincide with the fins at the bottom. Let's do a set to kind of coincide with, let's do a set at the top that coincides with the ones at the bottom and kind of almost in that same angle. So something in the middle to stabilize. What do you think? And again, this is just a rough sketch. What are you thinking? What are you thinking? So I'm kind of using this earlier one in part as a model for this one. So what do you think? One more maybe? Let's do one more, we'll call it a day. Before we go on to that, again, this is sponsored by my 2025 Diesel Punk calendar. Let me put the cover of that up here. So it's got some of my new and unpublished, as well as a couple of at least published on social media illustrations here in the calendar, and it's actually 14 illustrations all together. Let me go in the middle there and just kind of grab one of those. Here's been a new fan favorite, the dry dock. But many of you are very familiar with Molly and Miss Zelda made an appearance in the calendar, and they will be featured for April. But you should see the link in the title of this, and you can get your own. Get it today, especially because I put a discount on it. It is still, for the moment, only 25%, it's 25% off. So make sure you get that. And just make sure you get it because January's almost up, y'all. And you need to have not only just a regular calendar, but you need to have a unique calendar that's somewhere posted on the wall that reflects your love of this genre, diesel punk. All right, so we did one from the back, we did one from the front, we did one fore and aft. So how about we do it from the side this time? And so what I'm going to go with for the, let's really just shape it out first. Long bottom. Lately, I've been trying to incorporate the feel and the design. Hey Google, volume 2. The feel and design of a whale in some of these. Let's try to stick with that a little bit. Now, really, I got that at an angle. Let me actually, since this is a profile, let me make it more like a profile. So you really won't see too much standing out from the sides. Now with these, we'll put a flap to the back. And I'm gonna, we're gonna decree that the larger ships, in many cases, the bottom is not as deep, especially the ones that are shaped like whales. So let's cut about a third of that off. But what we're going to do, especially to give it some uniqueness, is those super large flaps that are at the front that almost look like shields. We're going to make sure that it's 2 of those. So, with that said, let's move a lot of our stuff back. Let's move our flap to the back here. And let's move the ship's bridge right about here. We'll still keep this kind of going along. Like so. What do you think? Is this too big? I think that might be too big. Let's not let it extend below the hole. Let's just make it go right about here, where at least in the front, from a distance, you can see almost like a goalpost. You see one on one side, one on the other. You see like that? Like that? All right. Now we could add some depth down here if we want. I don't want to overdo it. We still need to put our fins right about here. And these guys are here. So what we're doing today is actually concept art. We're not doing the finished work, but we're doing a concept to kind of give an idea. Now this can be further fleshed out almost to the point where it looks like, it is finished, but the ultimate purpose of this is to kind of give the concept, give the idea of what the final design could look like. Gives room for changes and adjustments. But if somebody said, I want to have a story that includes a flying battleship, and what could that look like? The concept artist says, well, what do you think about this? It could look like this, it could look like that. But at least giving some type of tangible visual to an imagined idea or concept. Concept artist, concept art. So let's say if this was a final illustration, especially playing around with my shading and values and tones and using that to help design it or to translate it, I may have all of this so dark that you just only see these protruding out, but you may not see all the detail, but may have these flaps or shields almost kind of contrasting against this. I need to figure out what I'm going to do down here with this. Is it going to be sharp down here or around it? There you go. All right. Well, gang, I want to thank y'all for hanging with me on this afternoon. And again, if you are catching the replay of this, that's perfectly fine. Still chime in as if it is live, and we are going to still communicate and hang out as well, especially questions that you may have, comments and feedback. Give it all to me. But I want to thank you all and especially encourage you again. You should see the link for the calendar. Check that out. Get it for yourself and somebody that you care about. Thanks for spending the time with me today, gang. And we will see you soon.